Vicki Gack is a writer, blogger, master certified vegan lifestyle coach, whole food, plant-based culinary instructor, and certified personal chef. Trained in nutrition for a healthy heart and a dietary therapy for reversing common diseases. She is also Forks Over Knives plant-based certified and holds certificates in plant-based nutrition and in wellness counseling. Connect with Vicki through her Ann Arbor Vegan Kitchen blog at annarborvegankitchen.com. And Michele Gallo is a certified health and wellness coach, certified plant-based professional, ACSM certified exercise physiologist, and whole food plant-based culinary instructor. She holds certificates in culinary coaching from Harvard Medical School and the Institute for Lifestyle Medicine, ACLM Lifestyle Medicine for Coaches, T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies in Plant-Based Nutrition, and is Forks Over Knives plant-based certified. She is also a conference coordinator for plant-based prevention of disease.
Well, thank you, Olivia, and thank you everyone for joining us tonight. This is really going to be fun. Michele and I are really looking forward to sharing our ideas of gifts from the kitchen with you. So we'll get started right away with our spicy cashews and pecans. And we're going to start with, and you can actually double or triple this recipe if you like, but this is just kind of the basic amount that makes about 2 cups. And so we're going to start with 1 cup of raw pecans. So I'm just putting that into this bowl, and 1 cup of raw cashews. I've made this also with walnuts, but my family tends to like pecans and cashews a little better. So that's often how I make this, but I like it with walnuts mixed in as well. Then we're going to put in a tablespoon of something sticky, which is going to be kind of help build a glaze, which is a very important part of these spicy nuts. And so I'm putting in 1 tablespoon of date syrup, but I used to make these with maple syrup, and that works very well as also, equally well. And what I have started to notice is when I use the date syrup instead, it takes just a couple of minutes shorter in the oven because the date syrup starts to brown a little bit more quickly. So I'm just adding that to our nuts, and then I'm going to add all the flavor. So it's got curry in it and cayenne pepper and a little bit of salt. And so kind of a sweet and savory mixture. I'm going to pour this combination of 1/2 teaspoon of curry powder. You could use a little more if you like. You could use a spicy curry for a little more heat. And then 1/8 teaspoon of cayenne pepper and just a dash, about a 1/4 teaspoon, you can add or subtract from that, of kosher salt. That's all in my bowl. And I'm just going to give it a nice stir to get that mixture evenly combined so that the spices and the date syrup or maple syrup start to kind of, cover every morsel so that no matter what bite you get, it's going to have lots of flavor. And so as I'm mixing this, I'll just let you know that we're going to put this into a roasting pan or a baking sheet and bake it. My instructions say 20 to 22 minutes, and that works well with maple syrup. I'd say that with date syrup, you might start checking just a little bit earlier. I find that maybe 15 to 18 minutes with the date syrup is about right. But again, it's kind of whatever you like. They don't really burn, but they do maybe start to look a little darker than you might be accustomed to. So I like to take them out at kind of a medium point. So now we've got this mixture that's just nice and gooey and sticky and full of flavor. And I'm just going to put this whole thing into a roasting pan. Oops. That is a nonstick pan, but you could put this on a baking sheet with a little bit of parchment or a silicone baking sheet. And we're just going to spread this out so that each of the parts of the mixture with each nut is kind of, a single layer to reach the heat nicely. And then we'll be sticking this into an oven at 325, as I say, for somewhere between 15 and 20-ish minutes. And it comes out looking like this, which I just made a few minutes ago. And they're nice and crunchy. You can kind of hear they're sort of stuck just barely to the bottom of the pan, but they smell so good. And I'm going to just, actually, I meant to put our family's going to be eating these, I suspect, before they get into a very far away from our kitchen, but I'm going to put my gloves on anyway. So I'm just releasing these from this nonstick surface, and I'm going to put these all into a jar. So I have, you don't need this kind of a funnel, but it works well in the mason jar kind of format. And I'm just going to pour these into this jar, put a little ribbon around the jar if you like, and it makes a really nice gift for, you know, a neighbor, a teacher, a friend, a hostess gift, or just, you know, to bring as something that you're sharing with other people at a gathering of some sort. So I'm just putting these into, you know, kind of filling it to the brim. You get the idea. You could add a little tag to your ribbon if you wanted to. And we've got this beautiful jar of spicy nuts. Michelle?
Those look wonderful, Vicki. So I just want to say hi to everybody and thank you for joining us tonight. I'm doing some no-bake things because sometimes you need something in a hurry. So these all work pretty quickly. The only thing that is required is melting some chocolate. The first thing I'm making is the no-bake oatmeal and nut butter cookies. You can use peanut butter, almond butter, whatever you like. I tried making them today with sunflower butter because some people can't have tree nuts or peanuts, which are actually a legume. So they work with all those. If you do use sunflower butter, I found that most of those, it's harder to find just the sunflower seeds and no salt. So I would just say, if you're going to use the salted, then don't add any salt to it. So first I'm putting the oats in, just rolled oats, not quick, but the regular oats. And then I'm just going to pulse this or process it into a flour. Then I'm going to add the dates. I just want to talk about dates for a little bit. I'm a big fan of medjool. I know some people like the deglet. For these purposes where I want a more caramely taste, I do prefer the medjool. It is more caramely, it's a little chewier, the texture, especially with the candy, does kind of lend itself more to that caramel and toffee-like texture. But it's important when you get them, whatever kind you get, like that you look at them, clean, you know, wipe them off, clean them, and then open them up, because I saved one for you today. They have like a fresh one should feel, you should be able to like press it in a little bit and not have it feel like it's made out of concrete. You want to always look inside. Sometimes you'll see black, which is actually aspergillus. It's not supposed to hurt, but if you're allergic to mold, it's not a good idea, and it does not taste or feel good. Today I got this one. You can see that it's kind of green powder in there, which you don't want either. And then the other thing that can happen is it can have little tiny brown seeds, which is a sign that insects were there when they were growing. So it's just important to look. So, and just to make sure that they're all good. You don't usually have to chop the dates up, but I thought it would save some time and some noise for me to do that. So those go in next. Do this till it's coarsely chopped, or finely chopped actually. And then tonight I'm using almond butter, which we like a lot. It's the raw kind from Trader Joe's. I think trying to get it more towards the top, you know, at the bottom of the almond butter, the other jars, it can be a little drier. You want the moisture. It's about 1/2 cup of almond butter. Again, you could use peanut, sunflower, cashew, whatever you like. Process it again. Sorry for all the noise. I need to scrape it down. Scrape the sides down here. If we were doing a class like Vicki, I would have gloves on, but my family's going to be eating these. So you see, you can just press it together. It's gonna hold. And then what I'm going to do is take about, I love these little ice cream scoops. I use them for a lot of things, hardly ever ice cream. Just take some of this. Make a little ball. You know, you can, like what Vicki and I do with some of these things, you can serve them in a ball, like coated in something, chopped nuts. You could dip this in chocolate, or you can kind of flatten it. So one of the things you can do with these, which is kind of cute, I think, is take a fork, you know, like with peanut cookies, they have the little cross hatches. So you can just do that. You see that little cross hatching? So it looks like a regular old peanut cookie. And then, but you can leave it like this and just serve it like that, or you can dip them in chocolate, either like a little half moon, or you can dip the whole, like the top of it. And if I do the top, I'm not going to do the hash marks on that, but I think you can decorate it depending on what kind of nut you were using. You could decorate the top to make it look a little bit more festive. And this is one, I did these earlier. This is just the whole thing dipped in chocolate, the size. And this just, we're doing the little crescent, the half moon. So I'll tell you, my family likes the chocolate ones better, but that doesn't surprise me at all. And they're just that fast, they're done. So that actually went very fast. So I'll keep making my little things here. And Vicki, I'm already sending it back to you.
Thank you, Michelle. I know how good those are. I remember from having a chance to taste those the last time. Okay, so our next thing we're going to make right now is granola. And granola is a really nice thing to have on hand for a lot of reasons. It's nice over yogurt, over your oatmeal, just as a little snack, along with some fruit, things like that. But when you buy granola in the store, it's usually full of all kinds of sugars and processed ingredients that you may not want. And so it's so fun to make at home. It smells great, and it really makes a nice amount. This recipe makes a quart. So it's enough for you to use on your own for several days or even weeks, depending on how much you eat at a time. But it also makes a great gift. And I have made it and put it into quart jars. Tonight, I'm looking at just putting it into pint-sized jars so that I'd get a couple of gifts out of each batch. And it's very nice, again, as kind of a hostess gift to bring to someone if you're having, a holiday dinner, maybe with family at someone else's house, and you want to bring them something they can enjoy for the morning for breakfast on their own. So it's really fun to do that. So we're going to start by taking 3 cups of rolled oats, just simple dry oats that we're going to put into a bowl. And to that, we're going to add really your choice of ingredients, but I'm adding some chopped pecans. I have a 1/4 cup of chopped pecans, a 1/4 cup of chopped raw pecans, raw walnuts that I have chopped small. And, I'm saying chopped small because I kind of like it that way. I like that texture where everything is kind of small and, kind of similar to the size of the oats, but it actually is kind of more glorious looking if you leave the nuts large, and it really looks kind of dramatic and very pretty if you want to have the nuts be larger. You could add some dried fruit if you wanted to. At this point, I'm going to just leave it as it is, except to add a little bit of cinnamon. So it's actually quite a bit. It's a tablespoon of cinnamon. And then to that, I'm just going to give that a stir. And now we need something that's going to hold it together. And so we're going to make our own date paste. So into a blender, I'm going to put a cup of dates that I have soaked just to get a little bit softer. You wouldn't need to, but depending on the moisture level, sometimes it takes a little bit longer to, I'm just giving them a head start on getting soft in this process. So a cup of dates and a half of a cup of water. And then we're just going to blend this into our own date paste. You could let that go as long as you like to get nice and creamy and have absolutely no little dots of the dates, but I don't mind the little dots of dates that we've got in here. It looks like this, and it's really quite ready for mixing, I think. We also want to put in a tablespoon of vanilla, which you could add directly to the oats, or you could add directly to the date mixture. And now we're just going to take this mixture, blend it together somewhat, and pour it over our dry ingredients, the oats and the nuts with the cinnamon. And this is all of our sweetness. And again, if you wanted to, you could use maple syrup or a different kind of sweetener. But I really like using the dates because, again, there's just, you know, the extra fiber, the nutrition that comes along with the dates. And I just really like that sweet caramely flavor. You could also change the season, you know, I'm adding cinnamon here, but if you wanted to, this time of year, it'd be lovely to use a pumpkin pie spice or a gingerbread spice mixture or an apple pie spice. All of these are lovely, or to mix and match, in fact. So we're getting every bit of this wonderful sweetness in here. And now we'll just mix this together. You could also add a nut butter if you wanted to at this point, so that you have just a little bit extra nutty flavor. But I'm just going to give all of this a stir until every oat is covered. No oat left behind. So this will take just a minute as we're stirring together. And as I mentioned, this is going to make a nice big quart, which is actually enough to kind of have some on your own to keep in your own refrigerator for really weeks. This will last for a long time in the refrigerator. So enough for yourself and for a gift for a friend. We're just about there. It smells so good with all that cinnamon coming through. And then we're ready to put it into, again, a roasting pan or a baking sheet. I like to put it into a roasting pan when I can because it allows me to stir it while it's baking. And this is going to bake at 325 for just about half an hour. So our mixture looks like this, and it's all ready to put into the pan. You could add some kind of, you know, dried apples or dried pears or whatever you like, but I'm just baking this nice and simple like this at this point. So it's pretty neutral except for the cinnamon. And so then it can be kind of take on whatever character you'd like. This is a nice topping as a over a cobbler or a fruit crisp. So now we'll just spread it out in the pan. And again, kind of looking for kind of a single layer. With the granola, unlike the nuts, it's a little thicker and things sort of stick together in clusters. And that's kind of nice because it'll give it a nice chewy texture. So we're going to put this into the oven for about 30 minutes. It looks like this going in, and I'll show you what it looks like coming out. This one I baked on a baking sheet with a silpat, and it's really crunchy and good. It's full of goodness. It's really good. Very tempting. So I'm going to put my gloves on at this point, and I'm going to show you how we finish it off. So this one I called a simple blueberry granola because I'm adding blueberries at the end. And so what I'm doing this time for color is I would normally add to this, and the recipe says 2/3 of a cup of freeze-dried blueberries, because this just adds a little crunch and sweetness. They're kind of sticking together, so I'm separating them. And because they're already dried out, it's already freeze-dried. I didn't want to bake them. I wanted them to just be added at the end. So I'm just kind of adding these. We'll sprinkle these around, and we could kind of break these up as much as we like to. But for color, I thought it'd be fun to add a little bit of freeze-dried strawberries as well. So I'm going to just break these a little because they're kind of big pieces, and I want to scatter that flavor. So whatever bite you pick up, you've got some delicious little bit of color and flavor with this fruit. And you can use raspberries. I've done that. It's really pretty this time of year, especially. You could add chocolate chips if you wanted. People do all kinds of fun things with granola. So here we are. We've got all this beautiful mixture. And we've got our pan full of color for granola right now. And then I'm going to just do that same thing where I'm filling a jar with this lovely mixture. Ready to enjoy.
Very nice.
There we are. Michelle?
Okay, too bad it doesn't all fit in that jar. Now you have to have some, right?
I'm afraid so.
Yeah, too bad. Huh? Looks wonderful. So next I'm making sea salt, the date caramels, caramels in quotes. Again, this is where you like the medjool date. It's got a nice caramely taste already. And if you get them at the right stage, like this is a good one. I can press and it gives. Sometimes you'll find they're not all the same, even in the same package. You'll have some that are like really leathery, or sometimes you open them up and they look like there's like it's very fibrous. The fibrous ones are okay. They're just not, this isn't a good application of those. So again, this is something I started this. I used to buy my mom the sea salt caramels for Christmas, a little box of them every year. And then due to some health problems, she couldn't have those anymore. So I started making these, and I was very happy that she loved them. So this is the way we make them with the most often with the tahini. So tahini works really well with the date. And I'm going to cover it in chocolate, show you that with a little bit of salt on top. It's just a little finishing salt, so it doesn't make it, it's not too much sodium for her. But I wanted to show, because what happens a lot of times when I talk about tahini, people think this is added oil. No, this is just separation. So you just stir it up and it's going to be fine. But this is not an added oil. This is from Trader Joe's. It's just sesame seeds. So nothing else in it. So what I'm going to do is take a little bit of the tahini. Again, you can use any kind of nut butter you like. You can use nuts. What I like, another thing I saw, you can use pistachios. And then after you've covered them in chocolate, you can roll them in crushed, crushed pistachios. That's real pretty this time of year. So, and I do try to get it so that you can close it back up. So I've already gone through all of these and cut, made sure they're okay. There are all different ways people do these. Sometimes, I mean, I'm not tempering the chocolate. You can do that if you'd like to. You can fill it with nut butters. You can put nuts with the whole nuts in. You can do all sorts of things, and there are all different ways to dip them. And so a lot of you probably have a feature on your microwave that has, you know, a melting thing. I just do it on the stove. And you want a double boiler. If you don't have one, you can put like a heat safe bowl into a pan, a little bit of water, a couple inches. It cannot touch the bottom of the bowl or the pan. And you don't want to get even a drop of water into the chocolate because that will make it seize up. So you just have to be careful. It's over a low heat. If you do melt it in the microwave, you're going to be, if you don't have that feature, you do it in maybe 15 to 30-second intervals and stir it. Even at the beginning, when you think it's still a solid piece of chocolate or pieces of chocolate, it's still going to help distribute the heat better. So it's important to keep stirring it and put it back in. Okay. Now I've had this going for a bit. You can use a special dipping fork. I don't have one of those right now. And sometimes what I'll do, just to save on a little bit of I don't necessarily dip them, I'll pour it over, depending on what people want. If it's something they want the chocolate taste, but they don't want that much chocolate, then I'll just go like this and pour it over. And then put it on the tray. Just going to show you that. And then just a little bit, you can see that, taking a little bit of the salt and put it on top. So it is like a little sea salt. It actually does taste like sea salt caramels. And I can keep going. But can you see that? So I'm going to put it in the freezer to set. Not going to put it in right away, but then I can get rid of any of the drips after that. And just let it cool off a bit before I put it in the freezer, but then I can put it in the freezer to just help it set up a little bit better. And you just make as many of these as you'd like. I like to have extras like Vicki had with her granola. You don't have to put salt on them if you don't want to. I'll put that over there. And again, just salt. You can also make kind of a turtle thing with this too, if you put in a pecan in there and the caramel, so you see that. And that's what there is to that. So back to you. These no bake things go so fast. So back to you, Vicki.
Thank you, Michelle. So those are so good. Those look really, really good. I wish we could all share food tonight. That would be so much fun. Okay, so the last recipe that I'm making is my chocolate peanut butter truffles. And this, like the things that Michelle is making, is a no bake and a very lovely thing to have that makes, you can make it very quickly, kind of on short notice. And it also goes into the freezer nicely. So you can have some on hand for a last minute dessert. And it's really nice when you just want a little bite of something very special after a nice meal. And but just nice with a cup of coffee or tea as well. So it's quite easy. And here's where we're going to take, here we go. So we're going to take 1 cup of pitted dates. And we're going to put those into a food processor. And to that, we're going to add all the other ingredients for the truffles. So we're going to put in 1/2 of a cup of natural peanut butter. This one is peanuts and salt. So although the recipe says you can add a pinch of salt, I don't add the salt when my peanut butter is already salted, but I do sometimes buy unsalted peanut butter, and then I do add a little pinch of salt to it because I think it helps to kind of bring out the balance of these flavors. So we're going to add our peanut butter now, and also you could use any other kind of, although I'm calling these a chocolate peanut butter truffle, you could make this an almond butter truffle or any other kind of nut that you like. And now I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of cocoa powder or cacao, and then 3 tablespoons of peanut powder, which is just a single ingredient food. You can buy this either online, you can find it at Trader Joe's, and it's basically peanut flour. It's just dried peanuts. And then that's acting as, you know, kind of a flour essentially as this, but giving more flavor. And then I'm adding 1/2 teaspoon of vanilla powder, which is just a ground vanilla bean. But if you don't have this or don't want to use this, you could just use 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. That smells so good. And so now we've got everything we need in here. We're going to make just a little bit of noise. I'm not plugged in. There we go. Okay, what we're looking for is just a kind of a fudgy batter. I added just a splash of water. Sometimes it feels as though it's just a little dry and it's not going to kind of bind together, and I want it to hold together. But even if you don't add a drop of water, I might have added maybe a tablespoon. It would be fine, but I have found that it kind of helps to sometimes just add a little bit if it doesn't feel like it's all going to stick together. So what I'm looking for, straight in here, looks like this. I pulled the blade out just for safety. And what I'm looking for is just by hand, I'm going to make these little 1-inch size fudgy little balls. And just, I'm going to just do a few of these to show you how we get this started and then how we finish it off. So I'm going to make, you know, I'm going to move this out of our way so you can see better. And I'll end up with maybe roughly 18 of these, 16 to 20. And again, they really freeze beautifully. You could make these any size you like. I just kind of like about 1-inch size. And again, as I mentioned, you could certainly change the flavor of the nut butter if you wanted to. They're really nice at holiday time, I think. I did make these at Thanksgiving, but I'm planning to make these at Christmas again as well, because they're so easy and so delicious. And one of the nice things about this, like several of the other things we're showing you tonight, you know, you don't need to be vegan if you have a mixed crowd at your, to enjoy these. So if you have people in your family or friends who are not all eating the same way as you are, this is one of those things that no one would ever ask if it's, you know, would never question it because it's just simply delicious. So let's get started with these. I've got about 8 of them here so far. I'm going to make just a couple more and then I'll show you how we're going to finish these off. I'd keep going like this and finish creating more and more of these on this little platter, but you get the idea. So into this bowl now, I'm going to add some crushed, dry roasted, unsalted peanuts. And I have just kind of created a fine powder in a mini food processor. Sometimes I don't do it this way. I just use put them into a bag and maybe just hit them with like a hammer or a mallet. And I've just got, it's basically just a powder though. So now I'm just going to dip these. So we'll take each of these and just kind of roll it in our mixture. And the more moist they are, the more the peanut powder, the crushed peanuts will stick. You could also, instead of the peanuts, if you wanted to, use a cocoa powder or a confectioner's sugar if you wanted to. I'm using, there's like no, unrefined or refined, I should say, sugars in here at all. This is just really all just whole plant-based ingredients, but you could certainly just kind of do something special with some colored sugars or something like that if you wanted to. And so you get the idea. So we have now our truffles that have been dipped into the peanut powder. And if you wanted to hand these to a friend, you could put them into something like a little holiday tin by themselves or with some other Christmas cookies. And now we've got a really lovely gift to give. Michelle?
They look lovely and they're good. I remember that, except for the peanut, but I made it my own. Okay. So one of the things, like Vicki just mentioned, not having any refined sugar in hers, with the cookies I made initially, if you aren't concerned about that, you could get little decorations to stick on there while it's still wet to decorate. One thing, because a lot of people here are vegan for the animals, I just want to point out that refined sugar, like white sugar and even brown sugar, unless it says vegan, isn't, which seems kind of silly because it's sugar, but they use bone char to whiten the sugar. And then brown sugar is just that white sugar that's been refined with molasses in it. So if you're vegan for the animals, you're concerned about that, as I am, then you want to look for a vegan form of sugar. And Trader Joe's, last I heard, they do have that. So what I'm making next is one of my favorites. I love its modification of Chef AJ's brownies, the raw brownies. It's all good stuff. I mean, I try not to have a lot of sugar during the holidays. I don't feel great after it. I'm just not cut out for sugar. And it's just everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's candy. There are bowls. I went into an office somewhere and I would have held, I don't know how many fish. It was this huge thing of all these different foil candies and hard candies. And I'm not at all tempted by those now, but back in the day before I was vegan and knew I was allergic to milk, I could walk by a Hershey's Kiss 11 months out of the year, but you put them in the red and green foil and then I liked them a little too much. So I just try to sweeten, like I feel for anybody who's here tonight that doesn't like dates, because Vicki and I have used them in, I think, everything almost. So there are other options, but we just both really like them. Dates are full of fiber. They've got a ton of minerals. They're high in sugar, but they're packaged with so many other good things that it doesn't raise your blood sugar like that, especially how we're using them, where there's a whole food fat and other carbs and things to slow that glycemic response even more. So near the holidays, I do love peppermint in particular. I love it this time of year. And so what I did was switch her recipe up a little bit, where I use peppermint. I flavor it with peppermint. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about this is a peppermint flavor. There's peppermint flavor, peppermint extract, and the essential oil. I love the essential oils. I do not recommend that for this application. Some of companies will say are food safe, but I don't, or food grade. I don't really trust that, but an essential oil in a bottle that's just an essential oil is very potent, and a little goes a long way, and you can actually burn yourself on those. So there's peppermint flavor and peppermint extracts. The flavor tends to be more potent than the extract, and the extract is usually kind of like it's steeped in water to help the oil separate. The oil separates, and then they put in an alcohol to emulsify and keep it shelf stable. So I don't have the alcohol. It's from corn. I can't have that. So I've always been one to use the flavors. And often, like with vanilla, I will use the powder, but in this case, I'm just going to use the extract because I'm not eating these. But I say the recipe, the directions I'm giving you are for the flavor. There are all different approaches online about the ratio. Now, this one has a little bit of oil in it. It's peppermint oil and a little sunflower oil. So I think you just have, like, you can put more in if you want. You can't take it out, and peppermint gets strong really fast. So I'd say, like, I have a half teaspoon that I'm using in here. I would just add a little bit more than that with an extract and see, and just keep tasting it and add as you go. So the first thing I'm starting with, by the way, this is all like what Vicki, the ingredients we've been using, minus the chocolate, they're all good for you. You know, they're full of fiber, minerals, vitamins, micronutrients, you know, just antioxidants, all sorts of good things. Walnuts, you can use other nuts in these, but walnuts are so good for the omega-3 oil. So fats. I'm going to make noise again. So I'm going to just start with the processing the walnuts. S-Blade in the food processor. This is something, I have a friend who made it in the Vitamix, but it's too much work for me, and I love my Vitamix. You don't want to turn that into a walnut butter. So I've got, and you can do it, sometimes I'll make it so it's very smooth, almost fudgy, and sometimes I like little bits of the nut to show and have that little bit of texture. So next I am putting in the cacao. I like cacao. I get this kind Trader Joe's. I don't, it's fair trade, or so at least they say that. And I prefer, if I can get chocolate and cacao that's fair trade, that's what I want to do. And I like cacao. It's not processed, and it's got also a lot of magnesium, iron. It's got a lot of wonderful qualities to it, properties to it. So I'm doing that and just processing it to blend it. A little smoke. And now I'm putting the dates. I chop them a little bit just to make this process a little bit faster. This is 2 cups. It's 2 cups of walnuts, 2 cups of dates. And this time I'm wearing the gloves because these have been promised to other people. So otherwise in the class, we always wear gloves. Here we go. I pulse it to get it going. Ball is starting to form. Now this one is going to be a little bit more with where you can see the nuts, which I do like. It just depends on my mood. And I'm adding 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract and then half a teaspoon of this particular vanilla flavor. So I have to play with it for make sure it's the strength you like. I can smell the peppermint. I love that smell. So it's like that. And then my other ice cream scooper that I don't use for ice cream, I take this and I put it in. Vicki and I have a lot of the same things. We both have a couple of these. She's got more than I do, but these little brownie bites, you could put it into a baking pan lined with parchment and just cut it into shapes. You could keep it in a ball, you know, whatever you'd like to do with them. I love these little molds. They're silicone, and to me it just kind of, I guess you can see it, it's kind of like a brownie that was put in a shrinky dink. Just these, they come out so nicely. And I will usually pop these in the freezer. Now Vicki did show the tin, which is what I do with the cookies, and I will often get a little box with the little candy wrappers for the dates. I do like popping these into the freezer. I can actually leave these in the freezer because I just like how they taste coming out like that, but they don't need to be refrigerated. And I can keep doing that, Olivia, if you want to go on to questions, and I can just show you. Usually I'm going to put it in a refrigerator or freezer, let it set, but you can see the little brownie. And I'll keep doing this if you want to go to questions.
Great. Let me add Vicki to the spotlight. Awesome. Hopefully everyone can see both of you. I mean, everything you guys made tonight looks so good. I so wish, as always, we could actually taste it. Wouldn't that be so great if we were able to have a get together? We all brought a treat and pass them around. Hopefully sometime next year, fingers crossed, maybe we can make that happen.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. So the first question is for you, Vicki. Someone has asked if you freeze dried the fruit for the granola yourself, and if so, how?
No, I did not do that. I actually purchased it from Trader Joe's. They have in the section of where their nuts are, dried fruits and freeze dried fruits, and you can get it at grocery stores and specialty stores as well, but it's much more affordable, I have found, at Trader Joe's, and they've got different kinds of berries and fruits and things like that. So no freeze drying on your own. I've looked into it, and it's not something that it takes a massive piece of equipment that is the size of, it looks like your refrigerator or something. So no, that's not something I have ever done on my own, but it'd be fun to try if I had the opportunity. But no, I don't have that kind of equipment. So yeah, I just buy it, and it's a single ingredient food as well. You can buy freeze-dried grapes. Michele and I like freeze-dried beets instead of chips. So I think those are freeze-dried, right? Or are they dry?
They were hydrated, and they discontinued them because they found out I liked them too much. So,
so the answer is I buy the freeze-dried fruit.
Awesome. That's a good tip. As many other people, I'm sure, a huge fan of Trader Joe's, and especially as you said, so many things they have compared to other grocery stores are so much more affordable there. But I've never actually purchased any freeze-dried fruit, and that's a great idea to add to granola.
it is good. I do just want to say is wonderful. I'm a big fan of blueberries. Your mouth might be a little blue after you have those. So
that can be fun for sure. Awesome. Very nice.
Gave them to my mom one time, like, whoa, they're so, but they are very good.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the back of the containers. I see they're getting kind of a little glare when I hold them like this, but they literally just say ingredients, blueberries, ingredients, raspberries, and a whole bag is considered a serving. Although for me, I can, kind of spread it around and get several opportunities for mixing and matching with, granola and things like that with it. I sometimes crush it and use it on top of a dessert instead of like sprinkles, things like that. So, but it actually, like a whole bag is 100+ calories. So they're, it's fruit. So it's a fun way to kind of be decorative.
Very nice.
It is doable in a serving, but yeah, you can spread it out farther by doing like what Vicki, how she used it and what she just said. So
definitely. Yeah, that's a great tip to crumble it up and sprinkle it on other desserts. I can imagine like over some vanilla bean ice cream or something like that would be delicious.
Rolling them in the truffles or the.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Michele, when you were talking about vegan sugar, I know you said you heard Trader Joe's, again, Trader Joe's promo does have vegan sugar. Is that where you normally buy it, or do you have a favorite vegan sugar brand for us who are less familiar?
I'm sorry, I have not purchased sugar in a long time, but I looked it up yesterday, and it was it said that their brown sugar was vegan, which should mean that their other is, because like I said, the brown sugar is just the white sugar with molasses added. But so I've gotten other things, I think maybe Wholesome brand, which you can get at Whole Foods and probably Fresh Thyme and other places. But just look, sometimes I find like with beloved Trader Joe's, they don't always say when something's vegan. You have to ask.
Okay.
Oddly, it's off-putting for some people.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure on their website they do have a specific, like if you want to look through all of the items that they carry, I think they have just like a general catalog, and you can kind of categorize it by what is vegan and what is not, which is pretty nice.
It is, and they have that for gluten-free and other things. It's
absolutely
very friendly though. It's very nice.
Absolutely. We all love Trader Joe's.
Yes, we do.
Me too.
All right, looks like we have one more question. Stacy is asking, is peanut powder the same as powdered peanut butter? If that question
Yes.
makes sense.
It is, and it's sometimes called peanut powder, sometimes called peanut butter powder. The only difference, or something to take a look at if this matters to you, is to just check the ingredients, because some of the peanut powders or peanut butter powder, you know, some of those have sugar added and some other ingredients. And so the one I'm buying at, as I mentioned, from Trader Joe's, but you can find it at other places as well. I have seen it at Whole Foods, and I think even Kroger, is just literally peanuts only. And so if that's important to you, you know, take a peek at the back as well.
Very nice. Do you have the container for what you purchased at Trader Joe's on hand?
Yes.
I know the most popular
Go
one
grab it.
I found is the one I just see everywhere is PB2, but I know that does have sugar and other additives like that in it.
Yeah, I don't like that one as well, but I know, I mean, that works if that's something that you like. But this one is just organic peanuts and sea salt. And this is again from Trader Joe's. It's organic peanut powder with sea salt. I don't know if it's available without the salt or not.
Very nice.
Yeah.
I have some new items to add to my Trader Joe's shopping list. I love it. All right. Well, I hope everyone has a very
thank you. I'm sorry. I just want to thank you.
No worries.
Again, we're so happy to be here every time. So thank you so much. And thank you to everybody. And I hope you try these and like them.
Absolutely. I hope everyone
and happy holidays, everyone.
Likes them. Happy holidays, everyone. Enjoy your holidays. Hopefully you're all getting some time off, time spent with family, and time eating some delicious food.
Happy holidays.
All right.
All right. Take care, everyone. Bye.